I think it's about time we talked about David Fincher.
Shit.
Hey everyone, I'm Mariana, this is Impression Blend, and with Fincher's latest film, Mank, finally hitting Netflix earlier this month, it's only fitting that we take a look at the director's entire filmography so far. Be sure to let me know in the comments how you feel about this new video format on my channel and whether or not you want to see me cover more directors this way, but let's get started with this very special part 1 of Fincher Reviewed and Ranked. With 11 feature films under his belt, David Fincher has captured our minds through gripping thrillers and dramas, memorable protagonists, and an undeniable interest in the darker side of humanity. After all, the director himself once said, "I think people are perverts. I've maintained that. That's the foundation of my career." Fincher became fascinated with filmmaking as a kid and picked up the camera for the first time at the age of 8. As a teenager, he directed plays, worked as a projectionist, was a production assistant, and eventually ended up getting hired by Industrial Light and Magic, George Lucas's special effects studio, as an assistant cameraman and matte photographer, working on films such as Return of the Jedi and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Fun fact, he actually was a neighbor of George Lucas growing up. All of this eventually led David Fincher to starting his career directing commercials and music videos, at which he was very successful. But finally, in 1991, the 28-year-old director begins working on his first feature film, Alien 3. It arrives in theaters in 1992 and does not receive a warm welcome from critics or audiences. I can't speak for everyone, but it's safe to say that for most people, including myself, this is Fincher's worst film. The third installment in the Alien franchise had a troubled production journey, to say the least. A variety of story and character ideas considered, complete script rewrites, director changes, heavy studio interference, requests made by the star Sigourney Weaver. All of this resulted in Alien 3 having way too many cooks in the kitchen, and it shows. I am tempted to agree with those who don't consider this to truly be a Fincher film. Even if you're watching the assembly cut, which is as close as you can get to a director's cut here without the involvement of the actual director, they assembled it based on Fincher's notes. Even if you're watching that, the film is still a mess and a massive step down in the Alien franchise. It's impossible to follow up the two masterpieces like Alien and Aliens to begin with, especially when you're talking about this being the director's first feature film. But the biggest issue for me is that Alien 3 really seems to miss the point of the first two films and what made them great. It's a reasonably well done sci-fi thriller, but it's also a pretty basic thriller, lacking compelling character arcs, getting rid of characters we were hoping to see, and missing an opportunity to expand on what we learned about aliens in the first two films. Simply put, it's just lackluster. It doesn't have that Fincher feel to it, and it's nowhere near as good as the first two films in the franchise. Personally, I don't love the setting or the look of it either, even though as a basic sci-fi thriller, it's alright, it's watchable, it's not that awful. But straight to the bottom of my ranking it goes. Fincher's next film, however, Seven, was a huge improvement and is actually one of my favorites from him. A few years after his unfortunate experience with a big franchise project that almost put him off making films entirely, the director turns to a smaller scale neo-noir crime thriller and strikes gold. The film went on to receive critical acclaim and commercial success, truly putting Fincher on the map as a director. Seven is a fascinating story of two detectives trying to solve a series of murders murders with a unifying theme of the 7 deadly sins. It's dark, it's twisted, it's gritty, and it even managed to surprise the audiences with the actor who played the villain. I'm not going to say who it is in case there is anyone out there watching this somehow who managed to avoid this information, but the actor's name was kept secret and was not mentioned in the film's marketing, trailer, or the opening credits, despite the fact that the producers initially wanted the actor to have top billing. 7 is also Fincher's first collaboration with Brad Pitt, who went on to star in 2 more of his films after this. And let's not forget that this film features one of Morgan Freeman's best performances. The movie is a treat for anyone who prefers their thrillers to be very dark and very atmospheric. It is drenched with dread. No, really, drenched is the right word here. It's raining in almost every scene, and if there ever was a film to make you feel cold and uncomfortable, this is it. Not to mention the meticulously planned crime scenes that make you feel like you maybe shouldn't be watching this, but also you just can't look away.
People are perverts.
Between the all-star cast, the exceptional visual style, and the gripping story, 7 is an unforgettable thriller. And if you ask me, it's the perfect twisted thriller. For a while, I considered this to be my favorite Fincher film, and the only reason it's going to my number 3 spot right now is because I find it a little bit less rewatchable than the other 2 currently secret films that I placed higher. I have simply seen it less times. His next project, The Game, was something that Fincher actually considered making before 7, but it got pushed back when Brad Pitt became available for 7. The film is, as the title implies, a puzzle to be solved, and the numerous twists and turns of the story are what attracted the director to the script. The movie follows a rich investment banker whose brother surprises him with an unexpected gift: participation in an immersive game integrated into his everyday life. Seems like an interesting concept, but for our protagonist, it's not long before it becomes difficult to distinguish the game from reality. The Game frustrates me. I want to love it because it's Fincher, one of my favorite directors, and because I enjoy films that play mind games with me, but this one, no. Look, I understand why people love this film. The non-stop suspense and that signature Fincher dread are there, and they are wonderfully done. You can see him really starting to refine his directing style. He particularly does some very interesting things with the way he uses the setting of each scene and how color and texture play into that. I have no complaints about the directing style or tension building here. Also, the film features an excellent performance by Michael Douglas. The story, though, and the ending, I just can't get past them. The problem with the ending here is that it actually affects the entire movie and the way you process the story in the end. That, and I just don't buy it. The Game is unfortunately towards the bottom of my ranking. I don't dislike the film. I still think that there is plenty to appreciate here, but the issues of the story are just too much to overlook for me. Before we continue, quick question. Are you part of that 50% of my viewers who are watching my videos but are not subscribed? Because if that's you, I really think you should hit that subscribe button. It's nice here. We talk a lot about movies. We also sometimes talk about series. Sometimes we even talk about books. And if you clicked on this video, chances are you enjoy those things. So I do think you will like it here. So just do it. Make that red button gray. The same year The Game comes out in theaters, an announcement is made right before Fincher's 35th birthday that he is going to direct the adaptation of Fight Club. Upon its release in 1999, the film that was destined to become a cult classic did not receive a warm welcome at the box office and raised a few critical eyebrows, with some of the critics calling it anything from incredibly brutal and pretentious to anti-society and anti-God. Yeah, a dangerous film, I tell you. Obviously, this did not hurt Fight Club in the long run because to this day, it remains one of Fincher's most popular films and one of the most discussed films ever made. Focusing on an unnamed narrator who is dissatisfied by his mundane existence, Fight Club is brilliant, and I don't think anyone is surprised by this opinion. It's a layered exploration of consumerism and society. It addresses personal fulfillment and our need to feel that we are a part of something that feels real, and Fincher himself has described it as a coming-of-age film for people in their 30s. It's bold, it's gritty, it's rebellious, it's unapologetic, it takes risks, and its narrator reflects the frustrations of many people, so it's no wonder the film resonated and continues to resonate so strongly with its audience. It's also one of those films that is a lot of fun to rewatch because no matter how many times you've seen it, on every viewing you are going to discover something new or you're going to see a certain element of it in a new light. And it's a lot of fun to discuss and interpret. Do not be misled by my ranking. Even though on my personal preference scale, it's at number 4, it is undeniably a 10 out of 10 film for me. Of course, I love Fight Club, and it's also very special to me because it is the first Fincher film I ever watched. It's not my fault Fincher made this many great films. I have to rank them somehow. Not long after the release of Fight Club and its unfortunate underperformance at the box office, Fincher turns to something a lot simpler, a one-location survival thriller, Panic Room. A mother and a daughter are fighting off a home invasion over the course of one night. And yes, the simplicity and the contained environment of the story is a big part of why the director was attracted to the script. After numerous scenes and locations of Fight Club, Fincher said he felt that he just spent 2 years of his life waiting for trucks to be unloaded. Little did he know that he will later refer to the production of Panic Room as a logistical nightmare. The efforts paid off though, as the film became a commercial success, with critics and audiences welcoming it as a well-made thriller, even though it lacked the complexity of Fight Club. This happens to be my biggest issue with Panic Room. It's as basic of a thriller as you can get with David Fincher, and that's not to say that it's not a good thriller. It's just not a great film. It's tightly paced, it's tense, it's effective, and I do love Jodie Foster as the lead here. But other than this, there really isn't much to say about the movie, which is surprising for Fincher's work. Panic Room is one of those thrillers you'll enjoy and get really into on your first viewing, but probably won't be dying to watch again, and if you do give it another viewing, you aren't likely to discover much that you didn't already remember after the first one. But if you haven't seen it and a well-done home invasion thriller sounds like your cup of tea, I absolutely recommend you give it a try. As for my personal ranking, it sits comfortably at number 9. After his popcorn thriller venture, it will be 5 years until Fincher makes his next film, Zodiac, and that one showcases a whole new level of the director's style. The film is based on a nonfiction book under the same title by Robert Graysmith, who is portrayed by Jake Gyllenhaal on screen, and follows the hunt for the Zodiac killer. By the way, if you want to know as many details as possible about the case, the book is absolutely worth reading because quite a bit of it was left out of the film. Fincher wanted this to be as close to the truth as possible. He and the screenwriter James Vanderbilt spent months interviewing witnesses, survivors, and investigators, going through police reports, analyzing everything they could find, and having the costumes recreated from forensic evidence. Fincher's perfectionism then transitioned onto the set itself, resulting in him doing countless takes, according to some accounts 70 or 90 takes in some cases, which the actors found to be a frustrating experience. All of this work definitely shows in the film though. It's a sleek, stylish, slow burn thriller that truly transports its viewers to a different time. The performances are outstanding, and Fincher really shows how much more refined his craft has become. On paper, this sounds like a film that's made for me. A true crime thriller, a real-life mystery, and a story of obsession, not to mention the out-of-this-world cast. The pieces are all there, but it is way too long and it leaves me cold.
Not quite my tempo.
Zodiac is another film I really want to love. I want to see it through the eyes of the people who consider it an underrated masterpiece, who think this is Fincher at his best, but it just doesn't do it for me. From the visual and technical standpoint, yes, it's fantastic, but art has always been about more than just technique, more than the sum of its parts, and that more is where Zodiac falls short. And that's why my ranking might surprise you, but I truly do believe this is far from Fincher's best, and it is definitely far from a personal favorite for me. And this is where I'm going to end this video, the first part of my Fincher review and ranking special. I was originally going to put all of his films into one video, but the man made 11 movies so far, and I wanted to actually talk about each and every one of them instead of just giving them a simple ranking and providing minimal commentary. But don't worry, I'm not going to make you wait too long for it. My next video is going to be part 2 of this, where I'm going to review and rank the rest of his films, filling in the gaps in this list. Be sure to let me know what you think of these films in the comments below, and as always, thank you so much for watching this video. A special thank you to all of my patrons supporting me on Patreon, and an extra special thank you to the patrons whose names are on the screen right now. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, turn on notifications, follow me on social media, all that good stuff. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I will see you very soon in my next one. Bye.